Well, guys, it is finally here. It is September 25th, opening day of archery season in Ohio. Man, I am so pumped. I can't even tell you. I'm running into a little last minute trouble here though. So the last 3 days I've been really fighting with my bow. I was shooting lights out with field points pretty much all summer. And then about a week ago, I put my broadheads on just to, make sure they were hitting right. And they were shooting way out of whack. I think they were shooting like way high and way right. So I did some paper tuning and my arrows were coming out of my bow weird. And I ended up moving my rest a little bit, kind of got it out of whack. I got those lighted nocks so you could see the arrow when I was shooting like 40, 50 yards. You could see the arrows just whipping through the air. So I knew something was wrong. So I kept messing with it, and I couldn't get it right. And then I stripped out the bolt on my rest, on my limb driver rests. On top of that, I shoot a Bowtech Insanity. It's like from 2007 or something like that, 2009. It started making like this really loud creaking noise every time I drew back. So that was driving me nuts too. So I called around to a bunch of bow shops. And long story short, I had to replace the rockers on my Bowtech. The only place that had them in stock was Acorn Archery out in PA, which is about an hour and a half from where I live. So one day after work, luckily they were open till 8. I just drove out there, he replaced them, silenced it up, drove back. He was real busy, didn't have time to do anything else with it. So I got that taken care of. Last night, I purchased a new rest, all before opening day, so crazy. Purchased a new rest at Hunter's Outlet right down here. The guy was awesome. He stayed with me till about 45 minutes after closing time, trying to get this thing tuned up, and we just could not figure it out. So he told me, come back around 11 noon, something like that, tomorrow, and we'll get it taken care of. That's where I'm at now. So I'm driving to the archery shop to tune my bow. And then once I tune it, I'm going to run over to one of my buddy's houses and put a couple arrows through it with broadheads, make sure it's shooting right. And hopefully, cross your fingers, it all works out. I'm going to be in the woods about 3 o'clock. Why there's so much pressure for me to get in the woods tonight is I've had this giant 10-pointer moving in the daylight between like 4:30 and 6:30 almost 3 days in a row this past week. So with that said, he's been moving, on pretty decent days, 70 degrees, kind of light winds out of the south. He's been walking this trail. I know there's some apple trees up the trail from there, so that might be where he's going. The one picture here, you can see he's got some Phragmite on his, wrapped around his antlers, his neck. The other thing I noticed is there's no mud on his legs. So if he's walking across, there's a big swamp back behind him, and that tells me he's not walking across that swamp. He's bedded on this side of that swamp on a south wind, which makes a lot of sense. So my plan is to sneak in there as quiet as possible tonight. Hopefully, it's supposed to rain this afternoon in a little bit here. Hopefully we get a little rain, quiet things down, and then I can just sneak in. I know there's a tree right in there that I can get in and shoot to that path pretty much where you see him on camera here. But it's gonna be really close quarters. We'll see how I feel when I get in there. We'll see what the wind's doing with the milkweed and stuff, if it makes sense to push it. But man, you don't really get opportunities like this too much where I'm from, where you get a buck like this moving in daylight multiple days in a row and showing you a pattern. He didn't move yesterday, or no, sorry, the day before. He didn't move the day before. The way I have my trail camera set up, I won't know if he moved last night until afternoon today. I get all my pictures at the same time every day, saves battery. Good tip for you. The day he didn't move, it was really rainy and stormy and really windy, so that kind of makes sense to me. I'm hoping today we had a cold front come through like 2 days ago. That could have switched him up a little bit too, and now it's kind of leveled off. So maybe he goes back to his original pattern that he was doing. We still are going to have a south wind, which is the wind he was moving on, which is crazy because that's actually perfect for my approach, for my access and my setup. So yeah, we'll see, man. If anything, hopefully we get a look at him tonight, because that is a giant 11-pointer. I'm excited, guys. So we got to get this bow shooting, and we'll be in business. So stay tuned. Oh, all right. That didn't take very long. It was only I was only in there for about an hour. Got her shooting bullet holes, so I'm pumped now, man. I think cross your fingers that these slick tricks are going to start flying right out of this bow, because I was shooting pretty decent, like I said, all summer out of the with field tips out of that bow. And as soon as I put my slick tricks, my broadheads on, which are a fixed blade broadhead, just the arrow flight was absolute garbage. So hopefully now that the bow's tuned, these slick tricks should fly pretty well. Alright guys, so it's about 2:45. I feel pretty darn confident after all that. I am about 5 minutes away from the farm. We'll be getting dressed for the first hunt of the year, man. I am so excited. I'm getting of that buck are back here, about 100 yards right now. If I drop this milkweed, it's almost going straight west, so that's pretty good. So I'm just gonna sneak in here as quiet as possible. I got a few trees in mind, I just don't know which one I want. And I'm a little worried about the wind's a little swirly. Every once in a while you get a gust that's like southwest. But I don't think he's bedded over in here. So I'm kind of okay giving that up. I'm getting really aggressive tonight. But it's kind of how you gotta be when you got a daylight walker. So. Apple tree. There's a couple rubs down in here, probably hard to see with my GoPro. I think this is what that buck's coming in here for. This setup kind of worked out. Kind of perfect, actually. I can't see crap. I am just surrounded by brush and all kinds of thick stuff. I can see out across the swamp a little bit, straight behind the camera. But where I think that deer's coming from, it's just a solid wall of brush. And I am not going to see him or get a shot until he's right under my stand here at about 14 yards. The wind is getting a little shifty, but it's not blowing where I think he's bedding at all, so that's good. What it is doing is blowing out across this path that I'm hoping he walks up, so I'm betting on this wind dying down at close to dark, or close to when he starts moving, if he does, and my thermal's getting pulled over off here to the north, towards the water. But who knows? We'll see. It's a little windier than I'd like it, but it was really quiet getting in here. Yeah, I apologize because I'm not gonna have any pretty footage or cool footage here. There's not much to see. If it happens, it's gonna happen right here. It's gonna happen really quick. I got one. It's not even a window. It's just some thinner brush that I can see through about 10 yards before my shooting lane. So I'm not going to have that much of a warning. Out there where my camera is, it's like a little opening. I can't see that at all. And that little clearing is actually high ground. It's where there's a gas well or gas valve or something, and then it kind of drops off. It's essentially just a high point that goes out onto this wetland. And because of that Phragmite and because his feet aren't muddy, that tells me that he was bedding right out at the tip of this point, I would assume, which is only 60, 70 yards from here. The one tip I want to give you guys today is always bring your binoculars when you're hunting. I know so many people who, when they're whitetail hunting out of a tree, in northeastern Ohio, they won't carry binoculars with them. And I can't tell you how many times binoculars saved my butt. Just being able to tell what deer I'm looking at. If it's a big buck far off, I want to know who it is. It just helps you put the puzzle together, you know what I mean? And also, for situations like this, you would think, because I have such limited visibility, I really wouldn't need binoculars, but honestly, I really like having them in these situations because you can dial it in to focus on, further out across this swamp. And you can see so much better. All this stuff really close to me kind of goes out of focus, and you can see way better out through all this crap. Just a little tip helps me, get a better idea what's going on.
thermals are really pulling my scent down into this little bottom back behind me. There's a little creek with some standing water. And you could tell he knew I was up here, but he was too young to have his wits about him to get out of here. But while I was watching him, another really goofy looking buck. He wasn't a shooter, but it looked like a 6-point, like with one side that was like kind of busted up and the other side was like super tall. He popped out. There's another bedding area that usually I see does bed in. He popped out of that little bedding area into the middle of this swamp here. Kind of looked around for a minute and turned around and walked back in the woods. So he's in this lot over here to the right. I hope he doesn't do the same thing that little buck did. Well, guys, that's gonna do it for the first sit of the year. Thanks for watching. Yeah, the big guy didn't show up, but saw a couple other bucks. Got to sit in a tree. The wind actually ended up being perfect the last half hour, at least for the, how he was moving a few days back. But now it's been 3 nights that I haven't had a photo or seen him, and I think I figured out why. When that little buck was in here and he was walking through the swamp, you could hear him walking through water. All that rain we had a few nights back, I think, flooded this swamp. And normally, the reason I think that deer was in there was, 1, these apple trees, but 2, I didn't realize how much acorns were dropping in here. They've been dropping literally the whole time I've been sitting here. It sounds like rain falling out of these bur oaks, but they're landing in the water. And I don't know if deer eat acorns in flooded timber or whatever in a swamp like that. Maybe his bed's underwater and he just moved. Who knows? But I think that rain had something to do with it. Flooded him out of here. Thanks for watching, guys. If you haven't yet, please subscribe. You're going to get a ton of content. I'm going to be putting out hunting videos weekly. And then I'm going to have my rutcation, which is coming up at the end of October. I'm going to try to put out a video every day. Please stay tuned. That is, if I'm still buck hunting. Stay tuned for that. And please subscribe if you haven't. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this video at all. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks.